Page number 460, Book of Fate, The Way of Fate, and the Problem of Pain. So Narad is speaking to the Queen. Queen, strive no more to change the secret will. Time's accidents are steps in its vast scheme. Bring not thy grief and helpless human tears across the fathomless moments of the heart that knows its single will and God's as one. It can embrace its hostile destiny. It sits apart with grief and facing death, affronting adverse fate, armed and alone.
Yes, until the last two lines, it was perfect. It sits
Okay.
apart with grief and facing death, affronting adverse fate, and facing death, affronting. So you don't want to drop death, you want to
Okay.
keep it on that same tone.
Okay.
Affronting means to face in defiance,
Mm.
to confront. Affronting adverse fate, armed and alone.
Mm.
So he is telling the queen, don't get involved.
Mm.
Don't get involved in this because your tears are helpless. And what seems to be time's accidents are actually steps in time's vast scheme.
Mm.
And this heart of Savitri knows that its single will and God's are one.
Will, yeah,
And
yeah.
it has the power. Savitri's will has the power to embrace its hostile destiny
Mm.
because it sits apart with grief. So it sits away from grief.
Mm.
And even facing death, it affronts adverse fate, armed and alone. Armed here
Okay.
means
Now I got the connection. So let me read the two
good,
lines after you finish
good.
explaining.
Okay, fine. You can start.
It sits apart with grief and facing death, affronting adverse fate, armed and alone.
Very good. Now, we don't have much here for the next 7 lines.
So I keep reading?
You can read those lines
Yeah.
completely, yes.
In this enormous world, standing apart in the mightiness of her silent spirit's will, in the passion of her soul of sacrifice, her lonely strength, facing the universe, affronting fate, asks not man's help nor God's. Sometimes one life is charged with earth's destiny. It cries not for succor.
Succor.
It cries not for succor from the time-bound powers.
Yes, and succor means relief or help or assistance.
Alone she is equal to her mighty task.
Yeah.
Intervene not. Should I stop or?
Stop there now because
Okay.
we should cover all of this.
Yeah.
So Savitri stands apart in this whole world
Hmm.
because she is the Divine Mother, an
Hmm.
incarnation of the Divine Mother.
Hmm.
And in the mightiness of her silent spirit's will, and in the passion of her soul of sacrifice, her lonely strength that faces the universe, affronting fate, and here we have affronting again. So Sri
Yeah.
Aurobindo considers it a very important term,
Yeah.
facing in defiance,
Mm-hmm.
fate.
Facing in defiance. Okay.
She does not ask man's help nor God's. And then there's a semicolon and
Hmm.
this important line. Sometimes one life is charged with Earth's destiny. The whole destiny of Earth
Hmm.
is now in Savitri's hands,
Yeah.
as it was in Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's during
Others.
World War II.
Yeah. And even after, like for me, when I read this line, what it came to me was the story that you told me of how Mother opened the golden gates of supramental on the day. So she was in like, she changed Earth's destiny,
In
opening those doors.
1956, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what, 65 years ago.
Mm.
But when I spoke with Sadalu, his feeling was that the supermental wouldn't be fully active on the earth until there was a supermental being on the earth. So this supermental body on the earth, Sri Aurobindo says is going to be his,
Mm.
that he will return in a supermental body built in the supermental way.
Hmm.
Now, there are bodies that can change in the midterm here of
Hmm.
this great, great change. There are human bodies. Mother's seen them on the ship, getting off the ship. You've
Yeah.
read that. And they were orange and they were coming on the earth. Now, they had supramentalized this particular human body,
Hmm.
but Sri Aurobindo is going to come in a new body built in the supramental way.
Hmm.
So he says, sometimes one life is charged with Earth's destiny, and that life doesn't cry out for help or relief from these time born powers. And now you can continue.
Alone she is equal to her mighty task. Intervene not in a strife too great for thee, a struggle too deep for mortal thought to sound. Its question to this nature's rigid bounds, when the soul fronts, nude of grabs the infinite. It's too vast it's too vast theme of a lonely mortal will, pacing the silence of eternity.
Well, this is extremely important, and a couple mistakes there we have to pick up. So he says that she alone is equal to her mighty task.
Yeah.
No one else can do this.
Can do it. Only Savitri can do it.
Intervene not in a strife too great for thee. You have,
He's telling the queen. Yeah.
you have to read it very differently, don't you? As
Okay.
Narad is speaking to her very, very clearly, and
Clearly in a very strict way.
yes,
Yeah.
intervene. Intervene means
To meddle with or to like,
yeah,
get into
come
something.
in between two things.
Yeah.
So she should not intervene in this strife. The strife is often a conflict here. It
Okay.
means conflict or a struggle that is too great for thee. Okay,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yeah.
And so, and then he says, it is a struggle too deep for mortal thought to sound. Now, here the word sound means to measure.
Okay. I didn't know how to, I didn't understand what it was. So I was like, huh, I didn't. So it says this is for to like mortal thought to measure. Like it's too deep for even for her to like fathom.
Yeah. Basically, we have the word sound, which means to investigate by the use of a lead that goes to the bottom of the sea
Okay.
on a rope.
Okay.
And that's called a sounding lead.
Okay.
And that's the way they used to be able to measure the depth of the sea
Okay.
before we had digital and all this fancy equipment that can do it in a moment
By
now.
radar and laser.
Right, so now in figurative context, it means to measure,
Mm.
to fathom, or to ascertain.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle that's too deep for mortal thought to sound, to investigate.
Understood.
To sound what? Well, it's question to this nature's rigid bounds. When the soul fronts nude, and here's the word of garbs, you pronounced it grabs.
Ah, okay.
A garb is an outward appearance or a mode of dress. So he's speaking basically when the soul, now to front means to face immediately, to face nude of any dress. In other words, naked, outward appearance or form. To front without any garbs, any outward appearance or form or dress, the infinite. And it's too vast.
Oh, okay. Now I understood how to read it. Okay.
Very, very good. It's too vast theme of a lonely mortal will, pacing the silence of eternity. What an incredible line. What a most beautiful line. Pacing the silence of eternity. We begin to see how beautifully and how powerfully Narad views Savitri. Prema, the next lines that come are the last lines that Sri Aurobindo wrote in Savitri.
Okay, so he additionally added it in the last days, or like?
In the last days, it's the last lines he added
Okay.
about Mother, about Savitri.
Oh, okay.
It is so powerful for me that, oh my gosh. So we do have the time to begin it, but I don't know how much we can do. We can do just a little bit, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's so poetic.
Yeah.
It's such
So
high.
until where? From as a star until where?
Oh, it goes to the end.
Okay, until he finishes. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
We can do a few more lines, a few lines on that, or we can even stop at pacing the silence of eternity, and I can read from top, and maybe we can go over some phonetics and recitation and things like that.
yes, I think that's a good idea because we need a whole session for this next part.
Yeah. And you think it is better to read it without break?
For the first time, I would do it without a break, yes.
Okay,
So
understood.
maybe
Yeah.
you could actually prepare that.
Okay, I'll
I
do
mean,
that.
when we think that Sri Aurobindo has worked on Savitri for all these years, and these are the last lines that he wrote,
Hmm.
and he tells the queen, we actually have to go into even another page. We have to go into 462 to end it.
End it, yeah.
Yeah. So let us go. Let's go back and
Yeah,
see if you can read at least these lines where without any mistakes now.
yeah. So
In,
I read from Queen.
uh, uh, you can read from Queen, yes.
Yeah.
That's fine, yes.
Queen, strive no more to change the secret will. Time's accidents are steps in its vast scheme. Bring not thy grief and helpless human tears.
Yeah, but here we have to, you see, this is it. Narad is speaking differently to her now. And
Mm,
bring not, no, bring not thy brief and helpless human tears. He's telling her, don't bring those tears.
okay,
So you can't really be dull on that line.
okay, understood.
It's very, very forceful.
Understood,
Not
yeah,
loud, but forceful. So
yeah.
start from Queen again.
Queen, strive no more to change the secret will. Time's accidents are steps in its vast scheme. Bring not thy grief and helpless human tears across the fathomless moments of a heart that knows its single will and God's as one.
And you've got to get will a little clearer. Will,
Okay,
will.
will. Across the fathomless moments of a heart that knows its single will and God's as one.
I'm still hearing will. I'm not
Will,
hearing will.
will,
Wah, will.
will.
Yes, better.
Okay. Bring not thy grief, bring not thy brief and helpless human tears across the fathomless moments of a heart that knows its single will and God's as one. It can embrace its hostile destiny. It sits apart with grief and facing death, affronting adverse fate, armed and alone.
Very good.
In this enormous world, standing apart in the mightiness of her silent spirit's will, in the passion of her soul of sacrifice, her lonely strength facing the universe, affronting fate, asked not man's help nor God's. Sometimes one life is charged with earth's destiny. It cries not for succor from the time-bound powers. Alone she is equal to her mighty task. Intervene not in a strife too great for thee, a struggle too deep for mortal thought to sound. Its question to its nature's rigid
No,
bounds,
no, no, no. It's question to this nature's.
its question to this nature's rigid bounds, when the soul, I still didn't get that line one. I'll read it again. Its question to this nature's rigid
Oh, but you have
bounds.
to go back. You have to go back, first of all.
Okay.
Intervene not in a strife too great for thee, a struggle too deep for mortal thought to sound its question to this nature's rigid bounds.
Intervene not in a strife too great for thee, a struggle too deep for mortal. Sorry, sorry. Intervene not in a strife too great for thee, a struggle too deep for mortal thought to sound. Its question to this nature's rigid bounds, when the soul fronts, nude of grabs, the infinite.
No, no, no. You keep saying grabs.
Oh, sorry.
It's garbs.
Garbs, garbs.
When the soul fronts nude of garbs, the infinite. Here the soul has to front the infinite without any outward appearance or form, without any dress, shall we say, anything covering it. The soul is completely open here as it fronts the infinite.
Understood. I try again from intervene not.
Good.
Intervene not in a strife
Now
too
into
great.
v.
Intervene not in a strife too great for thee, a struggle too deep for mortal thought to sound. Its question to this nature's rigid bounds, when the soul fronts, nude of garbs, the infinite, its too vast theme of a lonely mortal will, pacing the silence of eternity.
Yes, better. So basically, it's a struggle that mortal thought has no place in. It's a question to this nature that is has very rigid bounds, and bounds here are territories that of nature. We have a lot on nature, but we've done nature before.
Yeah.
It's question to this nature's rigid bounds. What question is that? When does it occur? Well, when the soul fronts nude of garbs, the infinite. When it questions its too vast theme of a lonely mortal will pacing the silence of eternity. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. So we'll end there today and
Yeah.
maybe take
Should
a
I
few.
go once again? Should I try once again the
It'd be
whole thing?
fine. You could try. Yes, we have plenty of time. Let's
Okay.
do that. That's a good idea. You're getting much, much better. I'm beginning to feel it more
Mm,
than ever before. So, yes,
okay.
do.
Queen, strive no more to change the secret will. Time's accidents are steps in its vast scheme. Bring not thy brief and helpless human tears across the fathomless moments of a heart that knows its single will and God's as one. It can embrace its hostile destiny. It sits apart with grief and facing death, affronting adverse fate, armed and alone. In this enormous world, standing apart in the mightiness of her silent spirit's will, in the passion of her soul of sacrifice, her lonely strength facing the universe, affronting fate, asks not man's help nor God's. Sometimes life, sometimes one life is charged with earth's destiny. It cries not for succor from the time-bound powers. Alone she is equal to her mighty task. Intervene not in a strife too great for thee, a struggle too deep for mortal thought to sound. Its question of this
So
nature's
to
rigid
this nature.
sorry, its question to this nature's rigid bounds, when the soul fronts, nude of garbs, the infinite, It's too vast. It's too sorry. I start again. When the soul fronts, nude of garbs, the infinite, its too vast theme of a lonely mortal will, pacing the silence of eternity.
Quite good. You
I didn't like
pronounce,
the last three, four lines. Until then, I was feeling good.
okay. You pronounce vast very well,
Yeah. Okay.
but you do not pronounce intervene the V.
Intervene. Okay.
Intervene, and you do not pronounce adverse properly
Adverse.
with the V. So if you
Adverse.
can work on that this week, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Adverse, intervene, vast. The V is so important here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, I have my
Okay.
student now, so I have to say good day to you for now.
Thank you so much, Narad.
It,
Namaste.
and we're getting into such a powerful and beautiful section. Oh my.
Yes, yes. So I prepare and I read this. Anyways, now I'm reading every day. So I read
Yeah,
this and
prepare
I
this
keep
till
you.
the very end of the canto.
I will do that.
Huh? Okay, namaste.
Thank you so much.
Sure.